All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Dash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who rule well, and also honor and salutations to those of you who are of the hopeful elect and are out there teaching the word of sincerity and truth. All right, so today I wanted to talk about um, a thought that I've had for a while, right? And I may have done a little bit about it before. I couldn't remember. Um, but what I did remember is that I started it, and because I couldn't find the exact information I was looking for, I didn't do it to the depth I would like to, and still even today with this show, it's not going to be um, as in depth as I would like it to be. So it can be built upon, but for right now today is just going to be the basic information. But I was thinking about um, what I always think about is matter of fact, let me go here, right? And I always read the scripture, I know, but it's just on my mind a lot. So this is Psalms 83:3. It says, "They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones." Right? It says they have said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." Right? So there is someone, right? We know who that someone is, but there's someone who, or a group of someones who have gotten together and through crafty counsel have figured out ways um, to destroy the mentis of the nation of Israel, right? And the reason that is because, and I've said this before, that you can't. Let me see. Let me do it like this. You can't say you rule the world or you run the world without. It's lucky. You can't say you run the world or rule the world without ruling the nation of Israel, right? Uh, I think it's. Let me see. Give me a second here. Just thinking. All right, bear with me, Salakia. This is Second Ezra 6:54. It says, "And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this I have spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes." Right? So the Lord made the world for us, right? And Esau um, can't solidify his rulership over the world if the people who the world was actually made for are not controlled by him. Okay, and he has gone through this this journey of figuring out how to control a people with such great uh, pride, right? And there's a scripture. I think it's I never can remember where it is, but I'll quote it. Um, that basically says that, if the Lord is with us, then who can be against us, right? Maybe 'cause I think that's let me Google it. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Romans. Let's go to Romans real quick. Romans 8:31. Romans 8:30. There's another scripture too. Um, when I want to say it was I can't remember what story that is, man. Never mind. Lord's will, it'll come to me. But this is Romans 8:31. It says, "What shall we say then? I'm sorry. What shall we then say to these things? If the Most High be for us, who can be against us?" Right. So if we are in good with Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, there is no one that can take us down. Right. So Esau again has gone through this plight to figure out a way to remove that connection, to remove that sense of pride and uh, and and love for ourselves and for our people, right? Because when you think about um, each time Esau has, or not just Esau, but any of the four major ruling powers, right? When you think about Daniel 7, which are the Babylonians, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Grecian Empire, and the Roman Empire, right? Each time you think about those powers, and each time you read about their plight is not the word I want to use. Their I guess mission to conquer the nation of Israel. There has always been pushback in some way, right? And there's been different levels of it. We've had to actually physically fight. There's been diplomatic ways to handle the situation. There's been all different types of ways they've tried to do it, but there's always been some pushback from us on our end. And what that makes me think about is when Antiochus was coming into power, um, and he was going to destroy the children of Israel. You had the what's known in secular history as the Hasmonean dynasty was a great stronghold in Israel, right? And and the Maccabees, they were responsible for a lot of ass kicking. if you if you dig up the history, right? You can read, of course, First and Second Maccabees, but there's secular history on the Hasmonean dynasty that you can get into. They were responsible for a lot of ass kicking. The name Matthias, right, means I think it's Matthias. It means the hammer, right? He was responsible for a lot of ass kicking. He and his family was responsible for a lot of ass kicking, and so Esau had to do something to make sure that never happened again, right? That when as we try to conquer them, that they won't have this self-esteem, and that it'll be easier to control them. So I found this picture, and then this is what kind of made me want to do the show again. I found this picture on my phone, and I'm gonna pull it up now. It's a quote from this guy. Shalaki, I think I got cut loose, but here's the picture here. I'm trying. I think because I expanded it onto the whole screen. So here's the picture here I found. This is from Lord Macaulay's address to the British Parliament, February 2nd, 1835. It says, "I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage, and therefore I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation." Right? Now, of course, you have to read between the lines because it's saying, oh, Salaki, it keeps cutting off on me. I don't know why it's doing this, saying this. is doing his job. But so you have to read between the lines a little bit because it says African, right? But we know that the continent of Africa, you can even go back as far as Joseph, got its prestige from our people being there. And of course, I believe that, and I'm sure other brothers will agree with me that these highly esteemed people, right, were of the nation of Israel, and those were the people that were trying to be conquered, if you will, right? And what could they do to destroy that esteem, that self esteem? What could they do to ensure that um, when they were going to approach them, that there wouldn't be any kickback? Because every time there was kickback, especially if it was physical, again, we were responsible for a lot of ass kicking, right? You can think of like even people that didn't, or at least what secular history says about the people, even people that weren't necessarily claiming their Israelite heritage were responsible for ass kicking. Like you got this guy Amilcar Barca, who was a was known for his ass kicking, right? And eventually he lost, of course, but um, our people have never, like even in American slavery, right? It's never been easy for Esau to take us down and take us over, right? So they have to have these little sneaky um, ideas, right? These conniving ideas to remove our self-esteem so that we won't fight at all, right? And one of those things is welfare, right? And we know that in history that Lyndon Johnson and his presidency is when so-called welfare started, right? At least on record, right? But the idea of it is not a new idea. Which the proof of that is when I'm reading this little excerpt from this guy Macaulay, right? So it wasn't a new concept, but it was made official here in America, uh, but with by way of Lyndon Johnson, right? And the tactic is to turn a wild animal into a domesticated one, right? And so I was looking for this example, but because I've heard this story told about how pigs, how you can domesticate a wild boar into like with the pigs that we see on farms. And what they do is they use food, right? And they feed the pig at the same time every day, right? So the pig, gets into the habit of going to the same place at the same time to get its food. And what happens is, just like if you like I was out, man, this is funny. I was perusing around the internet this morning, and this guy Mike Rashid, he was talking about melatonin and how people have taken melatonin to help them sleep, right? The problem with that is melatonin is something that is naturally produced by the body, right? So when you take something that's naturally produced by the body, your body loses its know-how really to produce it because it's dependent on the external source of melatonin, right? Same thing with testosterone, right? When people like bodybuilders take testosterone, right, for many years, and then they get off of it once they retire as bodybuilders, their body is now or whatever produces that testosterone is so used to getting it from an external source that it has to you have to rebuild yourself into helping your body remember how to do that. And a lot of them develop like breasts and their face changes, because their bodies don't develop the testosterone at the same level as it would naturally, right? So it's the same thing with wild animals, right? If you once you domesticate them and they get used to um, being fed by you, right? Then um, then with that feeding, they forget how to be self-sufficient and go get their own food, right? And that's what happened with welfare, right? That was the idea of welfare, is to feed them, give them gifts, right? This is why the scriptures say this. Let's see, I think it's Destroyeth, but I'm not sure. Yep. Ecclesiastes 7:7, it says, "Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart." Right? Why? Because especially if it's a gift that is continued to be given to you and something that you should be able to attain yourself, right? Especially if it's that type of gift, right? So, I wanted to read this little article right here, and again, this topic is so vast. There's a lot of information you can go into Lyndon B. Johnson and all of that, but and then what is commonly known as the missing century after American slavery ended up into Lyndon Johnson, what so-called black people were doing, right? Like we it's funny how history is taught in school, because you learn about slavery, then you learn, okay, Abraham Lincoln ended slavery, and then you go to the 1960s when Esau was fucking us up, right? Anytime there's a success of so-called black people and so-called black culture, it gets skipped. Like when you learn about world history, and it comes to the time that they call before the Renaissance, the Dark Ages, you don't learn about that, right? Oh, they didn't know anything about art, and the Renaissance is where we should start, right? So anytime there's like this black success, so-called black success, it gets skipped over, right? And there's this 100 years of inventors and architects and scientists that get overlooked, right? Because the narrative has to be that we've always depended on them, right? So let me read this real quick. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I don't even have all of that pulled up, but this is from an article, how to tame a feral cat. So a feral cat is basically like a wild cat, right? And there's I like to, me personally, I classify it in two different things, because there are feral cats that are actually like mountain cats, right? Like cats that live in the mountains that are like bobcats and things like that. But then you have feral cats who are the type of cats we're used to seeing in people's homes, but they're may have been abandoned, gotten lost, or whatever, right? And this article talks about that. But what it talks about is how they're tamed, how you can tame them, right? So I want to read this really quick. It says how to tame a feral cat. It says, one word: cat food. Food is how wild cats become domesticated in the first place. How they became domesticated in the first place. They figured out that hanging around humans equaled regular meals. So successfully taming a feral cat in your neighborhood will begin by establishing a routine around food. Feed the cat at the same time in the same spot every day. Don't make eye contact with him when you see him. Cats can take that as threatening. Sit or stand quietly nearby and just ignore the cat as he eats. Once that's going well, you can talk to the feral cat in a calm, soft voice. Oh shit, I didn't even read that part. Oh, shit. That reminds me of the scripture I got pulled up already, man. I gotta read it now. This is Psalm 55:20. It says, He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant, right? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. You see that? His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So he said, talk smooth with the cat. You gonna pimp the cat. It says, sit or stand quietly nearby and just ignore the cat as he eats. Once that's going well, you can talk to the feral cat in a calm, soft voice. The hope is that the cat will start to trust you. Once you sense that he does, move the food a little closer to you each day. Of course, offering a few cat treats along with food can't hurt. Hallow, Live a Little's 100% wild salmon cat treats are a great option because they are freeze dried, which means they can be broken up easily. Don't attempt to touch the feral cat until you are at least fairly confident, judging from his day-to-day reactions to you, that he'll allow it. If he backs away, stop and wait a few days before trying again. Take care not to make sudden movements. Let him sniff your finger before trying to stroke his cheek. Once the cat seems comfortable with touch, then you can move on to petting. If this is success, you can try gently picking him up. Be prepared for weeks of diligent effort, if not months, to get to this point. Right. So this is the same thing that American welfare has done. All right. I mean, let me read this one little piece of this other article here. This is from the Los Angeles Times. It's about. Let me see. It's all the way to the top. I'll just go to it. The article is called "U.S. Foreign Aid: A Waste of Money or a Boost to World Stability." Here are the facts. So it's about foreign aid and how it benefits or doesn't benefit America. But I just wanted to read this one part that I read. Once a foreign aid recipient, always a foreign aid recipient, right? So this is not a tactic that America has just used with our people, right? Used it all over the world, right? And whenever you see a third world country, know for a fact that America is involved, right? And again, this can be unpackaged. This topic can be unpackaged, but I'm just giving the basic information. But it says critics have contended that foreign aid makes nations perpetually needy and unable to break the cycle of dependency. Perhaps the largest reason is corruption. James M. Roberts, a research uh, fellow for economic freedom and growth at the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank that has called for a scaling back of U.S. AID funding, wrote in 2014 commentary. It is the pre-existing condition that keeps many aid recipients from ever recovering. It's a major obstacle to economic growth, right? Why? Because just like that feral cat, you get dependent on that aid, right? And how to be creative in ways of getting your own, how to hunt, if you will, right? To keep with the analogy, you lose that know-how, right? And that has been a part of the plan for Esau ever since, man. That has been his plan, right? So I got, what is this that I got pulled up? Boom. So I want to hit this, and this is gonna be the last scripture, and then I'll be done. Um, but like I said, this can be unpackaged, right? So Lord's will, every couple of days, I'll dig up some more information and I'll put some more out. But I'll end here with this scripture. This is Sirach, what is it, 12? Yeah, Sirach 12, and I'll start at 10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith." Okay? "Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh a wild beast? So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity?" Right? So you can't trust anything that Esau has put forth. And what's funny, it's like a two-edged sword, right? Because on one end, that whole idea of welfare has destroyed our people, right? Destroyed the minds of our people, right? And then on the other end of the sword, you got East Edomites who are not high enough to understand the agenda behind it. Will say, "Oh, well, welfare, people, taking care of, our country's been taking care of black people, blah 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 blah," right? But you don't understand that there's a ploy and a plight behind it, right? And that ploy is to get the people dependent on you so they can't live without you, right? And if they can't live without you, they can't fight you, right? So that's it. That's all I had. Again, this can be unpackaged. This could be like a 5 day straight, show. Really, there's a lot of information about the damage that could be caused by making a nation of people dependent on another nation of people. And this is what Esau has always tried from the beginning, from Alexander on till today, to get the minds of our people, at least the majority, to depend on the United States, or no, I mean, not say the United States, to depend on Edomites, depend on Esau, and then in turn lose his natural self-esteem, man. So with that, hopefully that was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachak Kodash, double honors to the apostles and elders, honor salutations to the hopeful elect. And with that, I say shalom.